Hey y'all, welcome to the Grizz 270 hour of cutting firewood. Today I'm going to be showing you what I drew up in SketchUp and the process of building my wood processor and walking you through it. Uh-oh, watch out for the bird droppings.
On my cheek? The hell was that? I hope that was
You know, I'm
bird
kind
shit.
of a
I don't want it to
novice at
rain.
SketchUp. And making things spin around, of course, I'm having to work it manually here. But this is kind of tentatively what I drew up in SketchUp. What's that you asked, Brenda?
What in the Cahootin' Crocodiles did I just watch?
It's funny that you should ask that because I'm fixing to tell you. So let's fire up this chainsaw and get her done. Now, I'm sorry if this video is going to be a little bit long for a number of you. Hey, click off it anytime you want. Jump ahead, just whatever. Or sit back and enjoy the whole show. Right now, I'm cutting on an old Doug fir tree that I intended on cutting on down into some boards, but this thing measured like 27 inches on the small end. It was just too big for my sawmill, so I was going to need to whittle it down with the chainsaw, and I just waited too long and this log started getting a little bit funky. But it will do just fine for what I'm going to be doing here. I like a nice sized log to make the wood base. Makes it a little bit more stable for what I'm going to be building here. Although this funky wood, it does cut pretty easy. We got us the wood all cut now, and now I'm going to all the planks, all the boards on the rounds, not the boards. We're going to haul the rounds on down there, and we'll get it set up on into place. You'll see what we're doing. Yeah, that's right. I didn't cut all the way through. I wanted to roll it over so I didn't rock the blade. Yeah, I got my two rounds, and they're both exactly 30 inches long. And one extra piece that I'll probably still split on up into firewood to burn around a campfire or something. Won't want it to burn inside because it is a little funky, but I don't mind burning it outside. Yeah, we'll get these two rounds moved on down and stand them up in place. Eventually, I'll even be building a better one of these that's more permanent. This is what I'm doing for now. Make this work kind of mobile. If I want to move it to a different location, I can. Sometimes working this tractor is pretty easy. Like right now, putting the log right where I want it and getting it to stand up. Went up as easy as pie. I mean, it went up slick. Other times I try to do something like that there, and it'll take me a half hour to get the log to stand up. And they are a little bit heavy for me to try to manhandle. I did try it, but of course I didn't go that far here. It would have taken too much time for me, everything. Now that log that's behind me is a little smaller diameter. I did end up standing that one up by hand. It would have been harder yet to stand up with the tractor. I pulled this one on down, and two logs, I already got it cut to the length, but I didn't cut all the way through yet. And like I said, I didn't want to rock the guard. Here I'm separating it, and I'll take these two rounds in one piece and then finish putting it down below. And these are the ones that you've seen before. That was behind the tractor that I just mentioned. So a little bit of this is a little bit out of order. Yeah, I'm not telling people that I recommend people carrying their chainsaw around on the tractor as I did. I don't even have a guard over the chain. There's Trusty Stir Fry. She's around me most of the time. And then there's Stir Fajita. Oh man, they're quite the characters. It's so often that I want to catch them and put them on the end of the video and stuff. As soon as I grab the camera intentionally to put it on it, then they settle down and they don't do what they were doing before. It is hard to video them, capture them having their fun. Oh, don't let it fall off your foot like that. That's gotta hurt the toe. And the ground is not as flat as it appears there. I had to stick my foot in front of that so it didn't go running down the hill. Turn it sideways a little bit and then it won't take off. And we slide it on over into place. We'll be ready to stand on up. There's something that is so refreshing about getting on out in the outdoors out here, just cutting firewood or tinkering around with something. It don't have to be anything that's super fancy. Um, just getting out here and doing a little something. It just feels so good. Yes, it is kind of raining off and on here. That's why I got my raincoat on. Now, I went and got these beams that I cut the previous year, and they've been sitting around, moving around there. Watch this. The tractor goes over sideways. No big deal. Boom. There it went over sideways. Um, no big deal, you know. It's not like it's jumping the tractor on over. I go around and I try to lift up the beams to set it up, see if it'll sit flat, but it won't stay. There, the tires on this side up about maybe 4 inches off the ground there. I'm trying to push down on the beams down there, trying to see if the tire would come down, but I couldn't get it to push down hard enough. So I come over to this end and I lift up on it and it comes on up, but then I let go and it drops back down. Just a little bit too much weight on that side. So I just go ahead and park it and unloaded two of these beams off here like that. And when I take the second one off, you'll be able to see the end of these beams just pop right on up. Bloop. There it goes. The tractor just leveled out. Yeah, picking up these beams, it's no problem for me. But that bending over and over, if the tractor had been a little stronger where I could pick it up to waist height, it would have been a lot easier. This bending over, that's the part that kills me. I still got my strength. I just ain't got the back to bend over to do things. And what I got here going is the log deck for my firewood. I can bring the logs on up and put 3 or 4 or 5 logs on those beams right there. The tractor won't lift the logs up that high usually, so I got to have those 2 ramped there. That way I can kind of roll the logs right up that ramp up onto that log deck. And this last beam here, it'll go up with that far beam to double it on up. So when I roll the firewood on up on there, the logs, they'll drop in between those 2 there. And that kind of keeps the saddle so when I cut the firewood, it won't drop to the ground and I don't have to bend over to pick it up. Okay, what I'm doing here is those big rounds that are standing on up, I'm just cutting an angle off on there. And that way the ramp beams will sit better on there. And I'll get some big old 10 or 12 inch spikes and I will kind of spike that on down so things don't slide. But I left them just like this here, everything just stacked together. And I've already got 2 cords of wood on here. So it held up. By the way, that was the easiest 2 cords I've cut in a long time doing this setup. Well, it's pretty much built. Let's grab the wood splitter and put it over in place. Come over here to the wood shed and hook stuff to it and drug it on out of there. Nothing really exciting with this. One of these days I want to make a head that hooks on like my fork. I can just hook onto the front of it. That will have the ball set up on there so I can just go up and hook the trailer, pull things, move things around that way instead of doing this with a chain. It kind of wobbles back and forth when you're pulling it around. Kind of hard to steer it and back it into place where you want it. But we don't do too bad jockeying it into place. The ground is a little bit out of level, and I do block this up to where it is level, plus it's up off the ground a little bit more. Getting it up off the ground to where I don't have to bend over when I'm working the wood splitter, that also makes it easier on the back. Everything I do, I got to think about my back. Such as what I'm doing right here. That will wear me out faster than anything. Well, there's no point of showing you any more of this part right here. Let's go ahead and cut this off and jump ahead. Yeah, there we got it cribbed up. Now we'll kind of rock this wood splitter up on the cribbing that I built for it. It's a little bit of a chore for me to push it on up there, but we get it. I need to build a more permanent platform for it to sit on. That'd be easier to pull it up on, that has a little ramp that it goes up on. There we go. Well, again, let's go ahead and jump ahead and clean up some of these branches around here. Don't want them in the way of cutting or the camera work. Yeah, gotta beat those ends on in there so they're not tripping my feet up. Don't know why I didn't think about that when I was stacking the blocks. Next thing is we gotta create a place for the chainsaw to be. I want to have to bend on over to pick up the chainsaw every time I go to start it. By the way, running the saw in like this, even though this is pretty soft wood, it still ain't that easy to get a saw started going on into board like that and turned a log like that before it run it straight in. That works. Okay, now I'm just putting a couple of blocks on there so when I start loading the logs on there, I don't have the first one take off rolling and roll clear on past and roll off the end and maybe even take out my chainsaw. And we'll go down and get a couple of these logs set up for firewood and start stacking it up on here. Not too easy to grab these logs like this here when they're just scattered abroad. They're not stacked neatly, so getting the forks on in, those forks underneath one of these logs, not real easy. It's a little bit of a challenge, especially when you got a camera in one hand, trying to manage the steering wheel with one elbow, and you're trying to run the controls with the of the bucket with the other hand. Now this one I couldn't do it, so I had to get off and climb up on the logs and just roll it into place. There we go. Watch your step on those logs, they can get slippery. just out of curiosity, as little as I can show you on this here and grabbing these chunks. Would you want to see the whole track work, me getting on it? Should I be setting the camera up and recording it every time I run it so you get a better view? Would it be better for me to just keep on doing like I'm doing? Or would you say, hey, you know what, seeing one log moves is enough, and maybe the first log and the last log, and don't even show us all the in-between logs? Leave a comment down below and tell me what you think on all this. Here's the second log. And the third log. And as you can see, here again is one of those things where it's not quite in order. I actually did video more, but I tried to shorten this video on up for you. It just showed me grabbing each log. Didn't show you driving up the road with it and up the hill, up to my Hillbilly wood processor. I think I ended up getting like 5 or 6 of these logs to take up there. Well, I got my finger in the camera lens there. What's he pointing at? Get your finger out of the way, you moron. Boy, this guy could sure mess up a good video, can't he? Wait a second, did I just call this a good video? I'm sorry about lying to you that way. And then I show you me dropping each of those logs off here. Good thing I put them blocks up there so that log would stop rolling. I was a little bit nervous if it would knock the blocks off and keep on going. I think what I'll do is I'll drill some holes in the end of the beams down there so I can put some dowel pins or something that I can stab in there and pull out real easy to, for when I load up the logs. That would a lot less chance of anything being able to knock anything out of the way for it to roll over. And another one. Some of them didn't want to roll down to the end, so I had to give them a little bit of a nudge. Now, of course, you got to do it carefully because remember, none of this is nailed together, not bolted together or nothing. It's just stacked together. Now, the rounds that I have on the ground, they're pretty good, solid, pretty good around, so it's stable enough. Except at one point I did get this stump right there pivoting a little bit, and I thought, push my luck a little bit, so I ended up rolling it on there by hand. I think this is the one that I was feeling a little leery about it kind of work the edge over a little bit, so I'm lifting one side of the stump up off the ground. I decided to roll this one up the rest of the way on hand and not risk it. One thing I have noticed working with this here, I need to make myself or buy myself a little tiny TV or something. Something smaller. It doesn't have to be a big long handle, just to conveniently roll the logs into place when I get ready to cut. I could probably use a what do they call those? Which has an axe handle with like an ice pick on the end or whatever. I can't remember what those are called, but you can grab the log with it, pull it, and it'll roll towards you. I think I'd rather do a TV. I've seen a lot of people using those jiggers that I'm trying to describe to you, but I don't really want one of those, that type of deal, because everybody I see using those, it's like three-fourths of the time it'd be faster and easier just to do it without the thing. People come up with all sorts of reasons to have newfangled gadgets that they really don't need, but they gotta look cool having it. So we got all the wood stacked on up there, fueling up the wood splitter here. I'm going to fire up the chainsaw and let's cut a little bit of wood. See how this works on out. Get this fueled up and the bar oil tank full and get it ready to go. One thing on fueling up the wood splitter, or anything, I like to fill up the wood splitter, the tank on a whether it be a generator or wood splitter, whatever. I like to fill it up and let it set 5 or 10 minutes. So if you have any gas that's spilt, it gets a chance to evaporate. I've seen people fill up with gas and instantly start it up, and they'll have a little spark or something, and the motor will catch on fire. I'm like, you know what? I'll just give it 5 minutes. Let the gas outside of the tank, anything that gets spilled, let it evaporate first before you fire that thing. See, now we roll that log into place right in between those two 6x6s. Fire up the chainsaw and start cutting. Now what I did is I marked the front of that 6x6 approximately every 16 inches. I didn't measure 16 inches when I did this. I just go by eyesight. I can get within an inch or two. Yeah, one thing I did notice while I'm cutting here, I need to go through eventually and lower this whole thing about 3 or 4 inches. It's still a little bit high. Oh, stir fry's trying to get up in my lap. I think I marked the front of that 6x6 after this one here, after I cut this log, before I end up splitting it. I took the tip of the chainsaw and marked the front edge of it. But cut like this here, the logs, once you cut on through, it doesn't, the rounds stay up high, easy to roll right onto the wood splitter. The truck, my old Ford Ranger there, the battery was dead and shot from not using it. So it was a pain getting it started and running to get it into place, but I got it there. I need to put a new battery in it. It still runs fine. Yeah, see, in order to cut down in between where the log drops down in between the 6x6, it drops down a little bit down in there. So if I was 3 or 4 inches, it'd be easier for the tip to run on down without cutting too much into the beams when I go to cut the bottom part of the log. And we'll get it up, speed it up here. And there's Dusty Feet sitting on the tractor while I'm splitting. He sat there on the tractor just like, come on, Daddy, haven't you been spending time with me? Yeah, I did run out of something because my camera ended up dying while I was doing this. So you didn't get to see me do the whole deck of logs, but you got to see enough in progress of it going. I pretty much filled the truck. I do need to pin those two 6x6s together so they don't move around on me when I'm stacking those logs in between that saddle. They do bump around from time to time. But when I pin those on down, I'm not going to use spikes. I'm going to use wooden dowels, so no chance of hitting those spikes with the chainsaw. Oh yes, we hear you, girl. She's getting excited. She says, Grandpa, pay attention to me, not onto the video. Nobody's here, girl. I don't know if you all can tell how much easier it is. I imagine some of you out there that's cutting firewood. Yeah, we all know that cutting firewood on the ground is a lot quicker. Sitting with a splitting ball, you can bust this stuff up pretty fast and throw it in the truck. But some of you older gents, you know what I'm talking about. We just can't bend over like what we used to. And this makes a world of difference. I can cut a lot longer and split a lot longer doing things this way. Can't do it near as fast, but I can still get a lot more done. And boom, there goes the camera. This is where I came to the end. Actually, I thought I'd run out of footage. No, I didn't run out of footage. I forgot I'd knocked the camera, or the camera got knocked over somehow. I don't know if it was the wind that blew it over or one of the dogs did it. But 20 minutes later, yeah, it
I
took me
don't ever
about
want to
20
watch that
minutes to
again.
finish cutting up that pile. So there you have it, folks. Just remember, if the girls don't find you handsome like me, they can find you handy like me. If they don't find you handy like me, well, just pray that they find you. Y'all come back now, you hear? Bye! In the meantime, check out this firewood.